Previously, we've looked at divs and spans, and some websites, if you go into them, they'll have an ID, and they'll have something like ID header, and then they'll have some content in here, and then close that div, and the next one will be div ID will maybe be content. And we can see that most websites, you're going to have this typical kind of layout here where you've got a header, you've got some content, and then of course you've got your footer area. So this is all within the body of your HTML document. And then of course here you would have something like div, and you give it an ID of nav for your navigation area. And what happened when HTML5 came along is that they looked at some of the more commonly used IDs, and they said, okay, well, instead of using divs and overusing divs and using spans, we're going to present web developers with another option. And that option was to use elements or tags that are already indicative of what that ID should be. So this does not mean that you're taking away the IDs. You're actually just supplementing them with a header. So instead of using a div, so for more semantic feeling of your website, that you would build out a header here, and this would be a nav instead of a div. And these are all going to actually behave in the same type of format. So this one would be a footer. And a lot of times when it came to the actual content, we might see headers and footers within the different sections of the content as well. So the way that it happened is that divs and spans are considered non-semantic, and semantic elements actually have some meaning to them. So we already had some existing semantic elements such as the forms and tables and IMGs, where we had looked at before that each type of clearly defined piece of content already has its clearly defined way of being presented. So now with content, we had different sections essentially, and within those sections we might have a header and a footer and within there. So there's nothing that's actually called content. We use something called section, and this is also, again, depending on the web developer and how they want to do it. Some will still use divs within this type of format. Some will use a section, and then some people might use an article. So there's a few different options here. And this, again, this is depending on what your style is and how you're using your content. And another thing with websites is you usually have what's called the side menu as well. So this is presented as a side, as a semantic element a side. So I'm just going to tidy that up. So now we've got a more readable type of format for our website. So it does look a lot better than just having a bunch of divs with IDs, even though we've kept these IDs in so that we can still identify these sections. Now we've got a more semantic feel to our elements of our web page, and we're ready to continue to build out our website as needed. So that's coming up in the next set of lessons.